Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Bricks and Bleachers podcast. All things Chicago Cubs in under 10 minutes. If you listen close, you will hear the ticking of the clock counting down to the Major League Baseball trade deadline. It is Friday at 4 and a lot of movement expected with the Cubs. We'll talk about that. Update you on recent Cubs action on the field. Get you an injury update and a lot more. It is a pretty crazy time to be a Chicago Cubs fan. Cubs core from the 2016 World Series may have just one more game together. May being the key word, as several Cubs trades are expected. That movement may already be underway by the time you are listening to this. We are recording at about midnight Eastern, Wednesday night into Thursday morning, so 40 hours away from the Major League Baseball trading deadline. Cubs have a Thursday afternoon game at Wrigley, then Friday night at our nation's capital. Could be a very different roster between those two games. It is expected Kris Bryant will be moved. I would put money on that, and I have felt that way for quite some time. Mentioned that a few weeks ago. I thought he would be on the move at the deadline. And I said that even when the Cubs were playing well, they were in contention, I thought Bryant would bring a sizable return, more so than Rizzo or Baez, plus the odds of re-signing KB are essentially slim to none. So the option is to let Kris Bryant play out his contract and lose him at the end of September. Or you move him now and try to get possible pieces for the future. Same could be said for others like Rizzo and Baez, expiring contracts at the end of this season. Craig Kimbrell, Ryan Tepera, Zach Davies, I believe they are all in the same similar contractual situation. Bryant, I think, is gone. Rizzo, possibly. There are reports. The Red Sox have asked about his availability. Javi Baez has interest from other teams. No surprise there, but I think he is going to be retained. I think he's going to be the building block that the Cubs move forward with. They're going to build around him in 2022 and beyond. And I think even if Rizzo is moved here in the coming hours, I still think there's a decent chance that he will be a Cub in 2022. You can always re-sign him after seeing him go elsewhere for the next few weeks. So time will tell in the next 40 hours. Craig Kimbrell, I think, is gone. He's definitely going to be an impactful closer for a team in postseason contention. And then you've got Ryan Tepera being mentioned as a possible bullpen asset for a contender. So a decent chance that I think he goes. There are so many scenarios that could play out in the coming hours. Who knows? No one knows for sure, including probably some in the Cubs front office, to be honest. Two moves already made. Jock Peterson shipped to Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, and Andrew Chafin, part of that amazing Cubs bullpen, shipped to Oakland earlier this week. Now, Wilson Contreras, he is the one big contract up after next season. I think he will be your captain moving forward. And if Rizzo is around next year, I think he'll continue to provide leadership for the team as well. Regardless of what happens, us Cubs fans have been treated to a high level of success in recent years that is unmatched in franchise history, at least for much of the past century, and we may not see anything like it again. That is not hyperbole. When you take a look at the numbers, and you probably have a pretty good memory of what we've seen the last 7 years with Kris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, and Javi Baez. Winning percentage north of .570. You're talking about a string of 90-win seasons, including one where they won more than 100 games, 5 playoff appearances, 3 appearances in the National League Championship Series, a World Series, a Rookie of the Year, an MVP, 9 or 10 All-Star appearances, and several Gold Gloves. It really is incredible. Not just Cubs fans, but fans of many teams will never see a stretch like what Cubs fans have seen from 2015 to now. All right, let's talk about the action on the field. Cubs offense continues to be rather anemic. That has been the story for more than a month. In fact, almost for 2 months at this point. Significant downturns with the Cubs offense have been seen each of the last several years following that 2016 World Series. Cubs tonight almost shut out by the Cincinnati Reds. They were held off of the scoreboard until the ninth inning. They fell 8-2. Cubs have fallen to 50 and 53. That's 10 and a half games back in the National League Central. Milwaukee continues to win at a torrid pace. In a 2-week stretch in late June into early July, Cubs lost 8.5 games in the standings to Milwaukee. That is simply amazing. After Wednesday's action, Milwaukee holds a 7-game lead over the Reds, up 9 on the Cardinals, and then the Cubs in 4th place. Pirates seem to have the division cellar to themselves, 21 and a half games back in the National League Central. In the wild card, Cubs trail San Diego by 8.5. So again, I think your postseason contention pretty slim to none, especially after a bunch of pieces were moved in the coming hours. But there are bright spots for the Cubs, roster depth being one of them. Earlier this week, Cubs had 4 third basemen in the starting lineup. You had Chris Bryant, Patrick Wisdom, Matt Duffy, and David Bodie, all in the starting lineup at various positions Monday night. Chris Bryant with a couple innings at shortstop tonight. That's his 6th defensive position he's played for the Cubs this year. Catcher depth has been a big plus for the Cubs. Wilson Contreras, among your league leaders in innings behind the plate. Numerous backups have been injured. Robinson Chirinos has been fun to watch as a backup catcher in limited action in recent weeks. Another bright spot, Cubs with an unbelievable win last week in St. Louis, trailing by 5 entering the 9th inning. Cubs put up 6 runs to down the Cards, 7-6. Team's biggest 9th inning comeback since 1979. I think it was Fangraphs that in the 9th inning gave the Cubs a fraction of 1% chance of winning. I think it was like 0.4% chance of winning. But then they did just that. They did come back to win with 6 runs in the 9th. That's pretty incredible. Also, a fun fact, that inning saw Patrick Wisdom strike out twice. This and that. News and notes from around Major League Baseball. Trade deadline Friday afternoon at 4. Joey Gallo, perhaps the biggest name that has been dealt so far. He was dealt earlier this evening from the Rangers to the Yankees. Plenty of Cubs rumors, but talk of Max Scherzer being dealt by the Nationals. Big rebuild expected in D.C. Speaking of Yankees and collapses, Yankees took a no-hitter into the 8th inning Sunday at Fenway. The Red Sox then managed to put up 5 runs to overtake the Yankees. Yet another incredible chapter of that rivalry. Twins on Tuesday lost a game in which they had a 4-run lead in the 9th inning. First time for the Twins to do that since 2007. But get this, the Minnesota Twins have blown a lead and lost the game 36 times this year. No one else has done that in Major League Baseball more than 27 times. We can agree the Cubs have been tough to watch at times this season, but I cannot imagine seeing your team blow a lead and lose in the equivalent of 1/3 of your games when you've played 2/3 of your season. That is incredible. Injury update. Cubs are much healthier today than at any point the last couple of months. Happ, Horner, Duffy, all back with the team after long stints on the injured list. It is worth noting Nico Horner left tonight's game with an injury. No details just yet. Javi Baez walked off the Reds Monday night. He injured his heel. Missed some time Tuesday night out of the lineup against Wednesday. Perhaps Thursday he'll return. That's just speculation. I'm not sure. There's been no official word about a return for Javi. Justin Steele is at AAA Iowa, transitioning from a reliever to a starter. Keegan Thompson sent down to Iowa this week for a similar assignment, so we'll likely see Steele and Thompson as starters with Chicago at some point later this year. Jake Arrieta also on the injured list after a couple really rough outings. No word on his status. Guessing he's not going to be returning. Time will tell. Next up for the Cubs, the 4th and final game of a 4-game set with the Reds. Thursday afternoon, 2:20 Eastern on Marquee Sports Network. Luis Castillo and Alec Mills, the pitching matchup there. Mills has done a great job filling a spot in the Cubs rotation. And then Friday night, Cubs in D.C., the Nationals facing lots of questions and battling COVID too. Their Wednesday night game postponed to a Thursday doubleheader. But Friday night, 7:05 Eastern, Cubs and Nats pitching matchup TBD. You can see it on Marquee Sports Network. MLB Network will have it too. But the trade deadline is what all the baseball world will be buzzing about the next couple of days. Plenty of Cubs action. And again, could see some Nats action too. So there's going to be plenty to talk about for that game Friday night in Washington. That'll be an interesting series as we embark on what essentially will be the final third of this very interesting season. We'll recap all the Cubs moves in our next episode. Subscribe so you don't miss it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get yours. This is the Bricks and Bleachers Podcast.